Welcome to Live Like an Acrobat. I'm your host, Shenea Stiletto, two-time World Acrobatic Gymnastics Champion, USA Gymnastics Hall of Fame member, and Cirque artist. I'm also an advocate for rain. On each episode of the Live Like an Acrobat podcast, I discuss acro handstanding in terms of training tips, coaching, and I explore circus and acrobatic gymnastics competitive life as I have lived it from past to current, and I theorize on what the future may bring in these fields. On each episode of the Live Like an Acrobat podcast, I will bring you insight through my own experiences, which are rooted in a perspective built on social justice advocacy and how these important issues continue to intersect between the circus arts and acrobatics competitive world at large. On each episode, I have the pleasure of discussing these various narratives with a variety of fascinating special guests. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Live Like an Acrobat podcast. Please consider a donation to encourage the continuation and evolution of this podcast. The details of how to donate are located in the show notes. Please make sure to check out the circuspreneurblog.com for extended conversations and interactive content of each episode of the Live Like an Acrobat podcast. I am available for handstand private sessions and workshops through aerialfitbodies.com, and in a new announcement, I'm also a Circus certified trainer. Check out Circo.co, a new circus school online international platform where you can learn hand balancing with me and learn so many other circus disciplines from trained cirque performers from all over the world. Check out my new vlog series, Think Like an Acrobat, which is available exclusively on Circus Talk as a pro series. It's offering pro tips to professionals within the circus arts industry. On episode 3 of Think Like an Acrobat, I discuss the art of contract negotiation with artist business consultant and circus artist Ulrika Stork, so you can learn how to negotiate for yourself as an entertainer entrepreneur. Enjoy this sneak peek of the episode.
The chance to get what you need if you ask your client what they need first is very high.
I love that.
It's a relationship. It's a relationship. You don't go into a relationship or to your friend and immediately demand. You know, you're a good friend if you listen. And it's the same principle. It's a relationship. And if you treat it like one.
Happy New Year and welcome to the first episode of Season 2 of the Live Like an Acrobat podcast, where I celebrate the new launch of the Tails app with creator Arpit Agarwal. Arpit Agarwal is the founder and CEO of Rainbow Labs Inc. and is currently launching Tails, an ad-free platform to discover the world's best performing artists. He is passionate about building technology to equip artists with the tools to effortlessly reach their audience worldwide. At Tails, he also envisions building an online performing arts theater where people could experience innovations in different art forms from the comfort of their homes. Previously, he was the founder of Pixet, which was acquired in 2018, and also worked at Google after graduating from Urbana-Champaign with a master's in computer science. Please welcome to the show my special guest, Arpit Agarwal. I'm so happy to celebrate the new year with the creator of Tails app, Arpit Agarwal, because his newly launched platform is to me the ease of the arts that we are all looking for in all areas of continued career journeying and, of course, essentially in life after the catapult of transformation throughout 2020. Arpit has invested his brilliant expertise into an app that serves as a program that you as an artist can lean on to take off the difficulty and strain of promoting and selling your work. Tails app provides a new way forward for artists and audiences to imbibe and experience the powerful symbiosis that is performance art. Imagine creating a new performance and not having to think and navigate your way around its distribution. Thankfully, with innovators like Arpit Agarwal, there has been created and generated a relief effort for artists of all kinds to continue to shift without having to do all of the work or lose valuable traction or, as we know, experience the overwhelmment of projecting all facets of our work, which can be exhausting even in its reward of accomplishment. What a light for the new year with Tails app being an amalgamation of specialized talent in so many different forms and possibilities. It is a delicately curated space for artists and for those who love the arts to share in the transformative power of creativity and expression. Tails app is a beautiful facilitator if you are looking to strengthen your artisan communal integrity. I hope that you enjoyed the first episode of Season 2 of the Live Like an Acrobat podcast with my special guest, founder of Tails app and performance art connoisseur, Arpit Agarwal. Happy New Year. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. How are you today? How are you surviving the current lockdowns here in California?
I'm enjoying it. I think it's a very different time. Getting used to this entire work from home situation has been very different and challenging, but I'm surviving.
Oh, yeah. I know, me too, doing what I can. I have a soft spot for anyone from the Silicon Valley or Northern California that you are currently residing in because that's my hometown. And I also can't believe that you are an Agarwal.
Yes, I am.
Yes. This last name is super special to me because my grade school friend has the same last name and people used to call us twins like when we were little because we were super identical to one another. And so I really love that. As soon as I saw your last name, I was like, oh my God, it's an Agarwal.
Yeah, that's it's a very common last name in India, and a little bit of history there. I migrated to the United States in 2010. Did my master's and all, and moved here. And it's funny, I find very few Agarwals in the US as compared to India. You'll find Agarwal on every other street, which is great and it's a different experience altogether.
Oh, that's really fascinating. I didn't know that. That's really fantastic. Bit of cultural knowledge to know. Yeah, my friend, by the way, she's really amazing, and we look the same, but we're like so different. She's a lawyer now, and she's a mom, and yeah, she runs a very successful food blog, and I run a vlog and a podcast, so we're kind of similar in those ways, but. Yeah, the Agarwal just it lights me up. It's very nostalgic for me in all ways, as is India. I love India. I've only been once working there, but I hope to go back. I was there probably about like 9 years ago, and I was working for Cirque du Soleil there, doing special events, and I was there for the IPL closing ceremonies, and it was incredible. So it was great being in Mumbai for a bit.
Oh, yeah, that is definitely one of the most exciting times in the entire country. Like the IPL, it's such a big thing, and being a part of a tour, I'm pretty sure that you had a lot of fun.
Oh, yes, a lot of fun, and a lot of things to go back to, but I soaked it up because, as we know, sometimes you don't get back to amazing places ever, or it just takes years to get back, so I definitely did. So I wanted to start, Arpit, to say that you are part of the great innovators of our times within entertainment, creating new platforms that can assist artists and creators in the performing arts world during the pandemic and beyond with your new app called Tails. And I'm so excited to talk to you about it, as it's going to launch soon. For listeners out there, I've already signed up. And by the time this podcast airs, Tails will be launched or launching very, very soon after. Is that correct, Arpit? When is the projected launch, and why are you launching your app Tails right now?
Yes, that is the projected launch. It's on Jan 1st. We're planning for 9:44 a.m. On Jan 1st. I thought that the next year is going to be, bringing in a lot of new surprises and happiness all around us. So it also lines up with our projected launch. So it's going to be exciting. Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, great. Yeah. So it's like launching everybody off into the new year, which is a really powerful time. People make a lot of great decisions on January 1st for their New Year's resolution. So I think a great New Year's resolution or a new way to project yourself into the new market and into the new year with your career and with your reach would be a great thing to sign up and be a part of the new platform with Tails.
Yeah, I think I'll add a couple of lines there. I think the interesting piece that was very exciting for me was like, having performing arts and on the platform. Like performing artists, they have, they are really amazing. And I want to give a little bit background around, why exactly, and we'll probably talk about it in a lot of details in the podcast, but it's just very close to me. And my cousin herself, she is a performing artist. She does Indian classical dancing, and she's really great because she performs in different theaters, different and different countries. And as the pandemic hit, I think it brought to us that the world is going to be different in the future. And just to understand that, we just started to soak it in, and then understood that the the world has always been physically constrained for performing artists, and we enjoy Netflix in different shapes and forms, and all these movies in different shapes and forms and online. But theater and performing arts has never been experienced online in a very definitive way. So that's something that we are very excited to understand and explore.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I think it's really amazing moving into the virtual experience for theater and for unique styles of entertainment too that usually people don't get invited into en masse. So this is creating an entire opportunity for different demographics and audiences to get insight into such beautiful dancing. By the way, for listeners, Tail offers, as Arpit said, beautiful Indian style dancers. I'm a huge fan of Bollywood and of Bollywood legend Aishwarya Rai. So I just love how many different types of artists are available on the app, and that's really refreshing and it's unique. And I love that it's your cousin. You said, right, Arpit?
Yes. So my cousin is also a performing artist. Correct.
Yes. And so were they a part of the inspiration behind starting Tails? What was the rest of your inspiration and how did that integrate into you wanting to push this new app and in this new way? I love how it was provoked by family.
Yeah, so it like literally so happened that a couple of months into the lockdown, we were just scrolling through Netflix and all these other types of entertainment, and we were like, what? 2 months in, we've already consumed all the entertainment. Where do we get refreshing experiences which are thought-provoking and new forms of content? And that's when I started like just looking through different options, and I was like, okay, there is literally nothing out there which gets me performing arts. Like a circus performance is impossible to find online. Like I would find some things on YouTube, but that's nowhere close to high quality content. And then I started speaking to family and friends and cousins, and then fortunately I just randomly started talking to her, and she was like, yeah, I she has her own events company. And my cousin, so both husband and wife, they've been doing this events company for more than a year or something, and they were like, yeah, we've been, trying to get this, wrapped around our head. It's definitely challenging. And I was like, how can I really help here? Because I have the skills to make software and make, and videos and video streamings. I've done that a lot of times. For the past 8, 9 years, I've been just, working on videos. Okay. And I did my master's in videos as well. How do you stream them? How do you compress them? And all those things. I was like, what can I really do here so that some of the biggest challenges that artists face around discovery, not to be lost among thousands of creators as on YouTube or Instagram, or managing their portfolio. Not everyone has a website, but they want to, but and who has, it costs really high, or it's hard to maintain with the upcoming, new shows that they create. And above all, the biggest problem that I found was monetization. Like, okay, you can put some content on YouTube and Instagram. How do you monetize with that content? And this entire place where they can either, you know, they could earn money while also not make it extremely hard for users. So where they have to subscribe to a new subscription plan to like really view content. So, keeping these three things in mind, that's where I thought, okay, let me just give a try to this new app and try to explore how exactly we could solve this problem. And once I started speaking to more and more artists, it felt like these 3 points came back again and again and again. And that's what propelled me forward and build this mobile app where you can create your profile, search for other artists around the world. Like, let's say if you want to find an Indian classical dancer, or let's say you want to find a hand artist like yourself, Shane, it's impossible to do that. But on the app you can just type in hand artist, or hand balancing, and you can find the best hand balancer in the world. So those things are made possible through mobile app and our web app as well. So yeah.
That's amazing. It's so amazing. Why the name Tails? What's the origin of the name? And do you have a cool story behind it? Or how did it come to be called Tails? Why did you want to use this name?
Yeah, it's a funny story. We would, the way it started out. We were like, every artist has a story to tell, and they create it through their portfolio. They do years of work. They start connecting with more and more famous artists. They connect with them. They perform with them, and then they keep on building upon that profile. And essentially, what we wanted to do with Tales was, you as an artist are trying to tell a story to the world of how you have evolved into this big artist from where you started. So essentially you're just trying to tell your story, and that's where, like, okay, Tales does make sense in that domain, and that's why we chose the name.
Right. Yes. Yes. We are constantly weaving our stories and the tales of our lives and the tales of our art and trying to project that and paint those stories a lot with our movement, either through word or through movement. And there's a very diverse set of talent that you're offering to have platforms and tales. And I really, really, really like that. And before we dive more into the logistics of tales, I'd love to ask you again, Arpit, about your background and how this has led you to create your app Tales. I know that you mentioned that you've been in software and you've been working in that for over a decade and you got your master's degree, but what else? Can you go into a little bit more detail too about what brought you to this point and what you were doing up until this point too, and what's given you so much, knowledge to be able to do this? And obviously you have the tools and the skills to be able to create such an app like this.
Yeah, for sure. So as I was saying that, I graduated from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, one of the best computer science schools in the world. And there I was like, okay, I really wanted to study videos and how videos are going to be, and that's what the common theme was at that point. Like, videos is going to be the biggest thing in 2020, in 2030, like 85% or 95% of our content that we view online is going to be videos. That's what everyone used to say. And I was like, okay, wow, that's crazy. I want to understand it. It used to be one of the most complex things in the university. So that's where I learned all the knowledge. And from there on, I went on to start my own company, my first company that I started out, called Pixet. And that was a camera company, very similar technologies, but a whole lot of different products, where we were trying to understand how and when to take the right photo for you, or the right video for you. It was a camera that would stand on your table or something and take pictures and videos automatically. and in your safe and secure space. It definitely gets a little um, tricky with privacy, but we were focused on moms and who were trying to raise their children, so to capture those moments with their child, where they're also in the frame rather than just behind the camera. And that's where I started learning all these video things and started applying it, and that eventually turned on to get acquired. And then I moved on to Google, worked there for a small time with a bunch of teams. Some of the products that you might use today, like the Google keyboard on Android, iOS, a couple of things. And a couple of other technologies within Google. That's what I worked on. And then I moved on to another startup very recently before starting out, Tails was a company that was started by Marissa Mayer. She was the ex-CEO of Yahoo and one of the first 20 employees at Google. And I was the second engineer there, and worked there for 2 years. We launched a product on contacts, and those were my experiences. And I was like, okay, I've done startups way over and over again, and I think now I had the skills and the time and the family support and all of those things lined up. So that's when I started thinking about starting my own company again. And very recently, somewhere in August, is when I started working on Tails, and that's been my story. So till yet, and the picture is still left to be painted, and I'm looking forward to paint it in the next decade or so.
Wow, that's incredible. You've worked with really incredible people. And I mean, it just speaks to how incredible you are, obviously, running in these circles. I mean, to remind listeners, you're in the startup, tech hub of the Silicon Valley, which again is where I grew up. And a lot of my friends and family members were in tech when I was growing up. Funny enough, my family wasn't really in tech, but I had so many of my friends, family members, parents, uncles, aunts were a part of the big surge when it was happening, in the early 2000s and things. And so it's really fascinating to see how it's continued to spiral throughout all of our generations as millennials. I wanted to ask you, Arpit, how is Tails different from other entertainment artist platforms, and how will it support artists in expanding their brand and networking? And how do clients seeking the talent on Tails benefit? And how does the process work to do so on the app? How do you connect? How do you facilitate that? How do you look for people?
Yeah, so I think that's a very good question. I think one of the most common questions as well, because everyone's like, oh, as every performing artist is like, okay, I don't want to go to another platform. If it's too much work, and I think those are very valid questions. So we were very careful about it. Like we wanted to make sure that it's not a social media app. It's not a place where you anyone could post content or be start creating their own channels. That's not what the purpose of this product is. Tails is a very, very focused product. It is only for performing artists and different form of performing arts. Like it's a very wide variety, as you already know. As the listeners here, they also very well know. There's so many of them, like dance, theater, opera, acting, musical theater, ballet, and circus, and there even in circus there's so many different forms. So all of those artists are able to create their profiles, and they are showcased on our homepage.
In this showcase shout out, and in a nod to the diverse performance arts collective that Tails App provides, and the love of circus history that founder Arpit Agarwal holds so dear, an entirely new work meets an entirely new form. Circus Days and Nights is a circus opera in 3 acts, written by legendary composer Philip Glass. Its inspiration is Robert Lax's masterwork, Circus Days and Nights, a collection of poems that draws us into the poet's fascination with acrobats and the circus lifestyle and takes us on the road with him when he runs away and joins a circus in 1940s America. For Lax, the circus becomes a metaphor for life itself, the cycle of life and death, and for human yearning and striving. Circus Days and Nights will be a boundary-crossing performance that brings the circus ring into the opera house. Be sure to look for Circus Days and Nights, which is set to premiere in Sweden on May 29th, 2021. And now, back to my conversation with the creator and founder of Tails app, Arpit Agarwal.
As they get verified, as they get more and more fresh content. And as a viewer, they come on the platform with the trust that when I come on Tails, I see only the performing arts content. I don't see a random video from from anyone else. Like it's only from verified artists on the platform. And the way it works is like but the platform is open for everybody. So anyone can come on the platform. They can create their profile. They can upload a video. So the process is like they just upload 5 videos of their work, which is abundant for us to make a decision internally that this person is professionally trained in the performing arts. And then they just click a button that apply for verification. Our team internally looks at it usually within 12 hours and it's back to them. Once if we have any questions or suggestions, we send that back. Else usually it's very clear and then we just approve them and they're listed on the platform. That's it. That's as simple as we could possibly make it, and make sure that the quality of all the content on the platform is very high.
That's great. Yes, I love that too, how you're talking about how it's not going to be just like this overwhelming experience of all this content, of all this content, and that it'll be isolated and it'll be specific. And I think what's great about this is that you're trying to make sure that it is high end, it's high quality, there's a good standard, but that there is, again, like you're saying, a large variety of artists. I also really like the feature where artists are encouraged to reach out to one another and to create like new content also too, to promote themselves and just new like purposes of work, but like, kind of cross featuring the talent with one another. How did you think of that? I love that.
That is, I think, that's something I'm really proud of, and it's not something that I came up with. It's honestly from the artists that I've been speaking to day in day out. Like I speak to every new artist, and they give me one new idea, and I'm like, wait, you know what? That'll be really, really great. Let me build that up for you so that you can use it. And let me give you that example. It's like I was speaking to an artist, an actor from the Bay Area a couple of weeks back, and she was like, you know what? I love how I can see all these artists. Can I message them? Can I just connect with them and possibly, come up with a new show by myself? And I'm like, oh wait, definitely, why not? And I built it out, in a week or so, and I, published it on the platform. It's currently, internally being tested by us, and hopefully it will be live by the time, by January first week. But the idea is you can find any artist on the platform, message them, create a group with a bunch of artists, and then decide that, okay, you want to create a new show. You come up with a script, you decide on something, and then you have that discussion amongst one another. And then when you're ready, you just, put a, put up the video, add the people who are involved in the video. Be sure of that because you don't want to be publishing video without giving the right accreditations and tagging the right people who are involved in the video. Do that and then set a price for the video. The pricing model is very different from it's something like very much like theaters, right? You go to a theater, you have an admission ticket. So exactly like that. You set a price and say publish, and that's it. It goes live on a platform right then, and people from all around the world can view it. And imagine that level of creativity that is just sitting in everyone's head, and they want to, they want to get it out to the people, but for them, it's incredibly hard to understand how do I market this video? How do I market, even if I make it? I know I can, like as an artist, they can collaborate with people, but for them to market it and distribute it is incredibly hard. And let me not even get into all the legal challenges with um, you know that artists faced every single day. So that's the simplicity that we want to provide at Tails. And I think it might be really exciting, and I'm super psyched about seeing what artists come up with. Looking forward to that.
I know. Yeah, exactly. I can imagine. Looking forward to it too, and looking forward to having some collaborations of my own on Tales with other artists. I'm very excited about that. I wanted to ask how did the client seeking the talent there, or who do you expect your audience to be that is going to be viewing Tales, that is going to benefit from Tales, that is going to be interested to promote Tales, but who is going to benefit? Who is your audience that you're looking towards? Who are your clients, Arpit?
Yeah. So as I see it, or at least the entire team in at Tails, as we all see it, there are four different blocks of people that I think you know are important and are collaborating with each other to make this actually work. And one of them is the performing artists. They are the ones who actually form the platform. Then there are art directors, people who are looking for the next big talent, or if who are looking for, let's say, the new dancer, the new musician, or new collaborator, voice artist, or video artist, what have you, right? Like all of those. And then there's a third category, which is the viewers, and I think for them, it's about building that trust by us, obviously, that Tails has the most high quality content when it comes to performing arts. And for them, it's like people who used to go to the theater in the past and don't want to or can't anymore for any reason, or just want to enjoy, let's say, a circus performance from the comfort of their home. And I would love to just watch a circus performance if it was available when I was having dinner on a Sunday night or a Friday night. And if that was possible, I'll be the perfect client. And I think it's not just me. I think there might be a lot of more people who might be interested in in such an experience. So those would be the viewers, per se. And then the fourth category of people would be the Tails team. And when all of us come together and create this community on the platform, I think that's what can make this system work. And I'm just looking forward to what all things I can develop, and the entire team can develop, that makes it easier for everyone to just achieve the goal that we are envisioning at this point.
I bet it will. That sounds really amazing, and again, just very innovative and expansive of seeing where all the platforms can be taken to. I think it's a really pregnant time, and everybody's really trying to re-envision how entertainment platforms can live in the world. And I just really think that it's really good to do a lot of different things that other platforms have not done before. I think that this is like really the time to do it, where it's like, wow, okay, we've really never seen that on a platform, and it'll be unique. And I think this is the time to be able to do it where it can work. I think in other times past, maybe sometimes when people do things, they don't really pick up because people just aren't ready for it. But I feel like people are so hungry from here on out of anything that's different and anything that they can connect to their favorite things about. in a unique way, but obviously with convenience, like what you're speaking about, simplicity, obviously for the artist, that's straightforward. And then within like a like-minded community where you can connect very easily as well, to one another. We're all over the place, and Tales is an international platform. So there will be a variety of people from a variety of genres. Is there a few other genres that you want to tell us about, Arpit, that will be available on Tales app in terms of entertainment?
So, I'm definitely more than happy to tell that. I think there is it's very hard to list down all the possible performing arts, and I've tried that multiple times. I'm like, what all different performing arts do actually exist, and I found it hard to like really list them down by by category, because even if I go to dancing, I find there are 15 to 20 different kinds of dancers. There are, like, because there are their specialities, be it within Indian classical, there are more than seven different kinds of classical dancers in India. And if you talk about musicians, there's the cello artist, there is the guitarist, there is the violinist. Like, all of them are included. If you want to talk about circus, there are people who are who handle fire shows. There are people who are organizing the entire circus, or and if you talk about ballets, if you talk about actors, and there are different kinds of actors there as well. I think all of those um, skills are open as far as they're professionally trained in the performing arts. And traditionally, if you've seen, like, performing arts has been a more widely held term. It used to be circus arts was very different than performing arts, but I think in the 1960s is when people started like putting both of those terms together as just the performing arts, and that meant everyone who's coming to a theater and engaging with their audience in a one-to-one fashion, be it mime, be it fire shows I just mentioned, and other things. So I think that's where we're starting. But again, I'm not a performing artist myself. I've experienced a lot of shows, and we're adding more and more performing artists by the day. That's why even in the apps, you would see that if we've forgotten to mention a performing art, please let us know so that we can include that into the list as soon as possible.
That's great. Yes. Well, and what I get from this is that you're really, really inclusive and trying to include in as many different genres as possible, which is really great because there will be a very large variety on Tell's app. And yes, listeners, again, you can reach out and let them know. And I really like that you're very open too, Arpit, about getting the feedback from artists and essentially seeing like what they think and what could work best for them and what you can include, because we see so many things and maybe sometimes necessarily we're not the ones putting these things together, but we can definitely give great feedback because we're on them all the time. We're always engaging in platforms as part of our job. It's part of the way that you have to keep your career going. So new platforms and innovation are very important to us as artists. We need them so that we can continue to network and monetize in some way and continue our work and continue our careers, because everything is digitized now. There's no such thing anymore as just giving your old school business card to people like we did at a certain time in Circus. Now you literally give people your app contact or your link, or the link to the various platform, and that platform with the way that it looks means whether or not you might get that job. So if you're on a fabulous platform like Tales, for example, and the way that the performing arts world works right now, and that is the link that you have in your resume or your CV, or that's what you have when somebody contacts you like an agent. You can link them to a sophisticated, great, cool page that's interactive, that has your entire layout very, front and center. That means that you are highly more likely to be able to get that job. So I take these apps very seriously. The listeners do. And, the artists that, you are introducing onto this platform do take it really seriously because it is very important, and it's becoming even more important like we're discussing right now, Arpit, because like you're saying, with all of us not being able to make those in-person deals, even if they were, a bit smaller than they used to be, you still do get a lot of face-to-face deals that you make in this performing arts world. But definitely now and into the foreseeable future, it's going to be much different and much less. And so the content that you're driving and the platforms that you're sending your clients to really speaks volumes to how you're going to represent yourself in this field and, stay afloat and keep going. So it's really great.
Yeah, I think I'll add a single line there, or probably a couple of lines. It's funny how how you can technically share your all these media platforms. They exist and they are really helpful. You can share a single link with all the content. But the thing that is really exciting for me, at least, and as I've heard from all artists about Tails, is it's your professional profile. It's very different than your social profile or your or all other different profiles. It's where you keep your latest work, and and as you just correctly pointed out, it becomes easy for the agent to reach out. You just hand out your single link, which is so for you, Shanae. It's I think you've created your tails.so/stiletto, and that's your username, stiletto, right? So that's it. Like you just share that link, and anyone in the world can see your work, and see a professional profile, click a button, and reach out to you. It becomes super simple for you as a artist, and I think that's what I'm really excited about. As you pointed out, like no one's handing out business cards anymore in the world of Circus. Like I think no one's just handing out business cards anymore. They don't have to. They just just message a link and they're done.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Can you take us through the various logistics of creating an app? Like, what does someone who wants to do the same thing need to know, and what kind of team do you need?
Oh yeah, it's a long time coming. Honestly, it is. To be honest with you, I think this is probably my 17th or 20th app that I've ever made, and each one of those apps have probably taken more than just a couple of months, probably close to a year. Someone would say that I've been programming for 17 years in that case. Well, it might actually be because I started programming at the age of 10, and I've been developing something or the other, like web apps, mobile apps since then, in some shape or form. So yeah, I think just to I think to answer your question there, it's uh, there are a lot of skills that that you end up utilizing, right, from programming to designing, um, and those are the two major ones. Understanding how the UX works, like how you know design what page to come that comes next after a single page. How does it become more intuitive for the user? But I think one of the biggest skill that most people don't talk about, and I think um, and it's a very soft skill. I think something that you can't be taught, but you learn through experience, is empathy. And it might sound very strange, but unless you understand who you're working for and you understand who you're solving this problem for, you can't really build anything. And if you do end up building something, it might just not be good enough for people who are using the platform. And I think that's something that comes in from a very famous investor, and named Gary Tan, and I love all his videos. He's just brilliant. He's invested in one of the biggest startups in the Bay Area, be it Instacart, as you might have heard, DoorDash, like all those companies he's like really involved with. And he taught me well in through his videos and through our communications, where empathizing with your customers is one of the hardest things to learn. But once you get it, that's when you really understand what you're solving and who you're solving the problem for. And I think that's something that you learn after 17 apps that you build and fail. You're like, oh yeah, that's what I was missing all this time.
That's after 17 apps. Wow.
Yeah,
Well, it's amazing that you discovered it, though.
I guess.
You discovered it. You discovered that cool secret, and you let us in on it. That was beautiful. I love that you said it's about empathizing with your audience and with your clients and with your users. Wow, I've never heard it described in that way, and it definitely feels that way with you creating this and being inspired by your family and the love of the arts and everything. I can definitely feel that. It definitely makes me feel very seen and very very, I would say, just like loved, because you creating tales and trying to establish more for artists and doing this is a really beautiful thing, and seeking to you are trying to solve a lot of problems for us, and I think we're all very grateful in this community right now. We've seen a lot of innovators come through and say, okay, like, we're going to figure something out for everyone and help you guys to keep your stride or create a new stride. And if there's anything to this year of being so difficult and being so hard on all of us within the performing arts world, it's the bright lights like you, Arpit, and innovators like you, everybody that's really taking the initiative to create new platforms and new ways of engagement that can, access, we can access for a very long time. And I'm excited to see how it'll evolve. I know I'm asking you a little bit about, I asked you a bit about the app. I wanted to ask you too, how else do you feel that artists can use technology? Because you are my tech guy, so I have to ask you these questions, because, this has really been a thing that artists have really had to learn over the years. Is if the world moves forward technologically, like, we have to move and keeping up with that. And, we can't just do our acts. We can't just do, the simple things and the simple tricks. Like, we really have to be mindful of all of this all the time. And we have to have, pretty consistent engagement with all the new technologies and stuff coming out too. It's kind of like become a full-time job with everything, coming out. And so we have to, we really have to stay on the mark with that. But what else do you see in terms of how artists can really, capitalize on that and harness technology for our careers?
Yeah, I think it's definitely been a challenging time. Honestly, I've tried to explore myself. Like, if I was a performing artist, what exactly would I do? Like, and I've spoken to so many artists, and they've mentioned that I think um, doing online classes is something that they have found to work, but then getting the audience is also super hard. But I think online classes is something which a lot of people have made it work in some shapes or forms. Some people have started doing, I think, online advertisements and sponsorships and other forms. And I think, I don't know if how many, but I think I've heard a lot of people, at least on these social media platforms, they've been contacted by these big firms to do some sponsorships and some paid partnerships. That has been more of a hit and miss if you've built that audience on on these platforms. And then there is this another tool called Patreon. I think that is also a great tool that people have used as artists. To These are the current platforms, like, before Tails was actually originated, that I looked at, and I felt it wasn't hitting the entire problem completely. Patreon is a great tool as well. I think it gives every um, artist the ability to start their own, some sort of their own platform where they can start to attract audiences and then start selling subscriptions. So it's a more of a one-to-one um, communication, at least from our understanding. Those are all great platforms, and I think we at Tails would only grow if those platforms existed in the past, so that we can at least learn from what they have accomplished so far. And for us, it's I think what we would see in the future, as I see it, at least, and as I get from all of the signals from you look at Netflix, they were in the DVD business in the 2000s and even till 2010, and suddenly it became a streaming thing over the last decade or so. And that's where I think we've been propelled forward because of COVID-19, and we are going to see the effects of that in the next decade. And the sooner we adapt to it, it becomes better for us as performing artists and the entire community. So a small look into that is it's very funny. Like I read this article I think a couple of weeks back and was very about history and was very shook by it. And it was like time and again, uh, circus artists have completely ruled the world in the past 2 centuries, and and the way it has happened is because they were given a new way to perform, be it in Japan in the 1700s, be it be it in Russia, in Moscow in the mid 1900s, also I think in Paris at that same time, and in the United States with P.T. Barnum in the 1900s as well, and in 1970s or something like that, it started getting consolidated by having these theaters and where people could go and perform. And I think it has happened in the past, and we're just waiting for the next wave where the artists get a new platform for them to be confidently you know communicate with their audiences. And I think that's what was surprising to me, that how this history kind of connects together. And I'm just hoping that it happens for Tales as well, where it is able to solve a problem for artists.
That's really brilliant. I love how you just threaded all of that together in the history of that. That was so great. Thank you for the history lesson. that was beautifully profound. Yes, and thank you for helping us to continue to rule the world through Tales app. And is there anything else that you want to add to the conversation that we maybe didn't touch on in relation to the new Tales app that will be launching very soon, Arpit?
I think one thing which I feel like is often left out is in most apps and companies is feedback. And I think as I did touch upon it, I think a little bit at least in our conversation was, I'm super open to feedback. And I think one of those things is as soon as you download the app on your phones or your iPhone, or you check it out on our web, you'll see a big, button right front and center, um, or the top left or the top right or somewhere, but on the home page where you click and then you send us feedback. And I would really hope that if not today, if 1 year from now or 2 years from now, whenever we might be able to meet those expectations of you as a performing artist, you send us those feedback so that at least we can improve on those and try to build something which solves the problems that you see, because we're really passionate about like really solving problems for people, and I really hope that we're able to do that in the next decade or so.
Yes, I agree. Feedback is key. And again, I love that you are so open to feedback. And I encourage anyone who is going to do a new venture to get as much feedback from those participating in your product before your launch, like Arpit has done. I have seen launches that end up doing a lot of different things post-launch that they could have done before their big launch, because once things are done and once people see things, obviously apps evolve and things, whatever venture you're in, this is, we're speaking about in terms of all things because everyone's coming up with so many different things. But I 100% agree on that. And I think it's so great that you're so open to that. But I would highly encourage that. I know that people get a little bit secretive and they get a little bit isolated when they are starting something new. And I understand that. The challenge is to make sure that you keep your ideas solid and to yourself, because people do get, I will say, creatively inspired by your work and tend to want to share their version and their take on what you've worked so hard to create. So there has to be a balance between that. But if you have your good team, your community, as Arpit has within this that is already launching with him, you take the feedback from the people that you have in that venture and do those changes. Don't wait until after or post-launch. Do it pre-launch. And I will have to say, out of all of my experiences and years of different things of seeing people launch, that is the biggest thing that I have seen. I know people want to get things out there because especially right now, things feel very competitive and you want to be the first one. I'm not saying that it has to be perfect, but you will have, I think, a much better shot of landing better with audiences and with clients and with viewers and with your customers if you have the empathy, as Arpit said so eloquently. And then you also make sure that you've taken into account all of those great opinions that people are giving you before you put it out into the world. So even if it's not perfect, you can make sure that those other things are more perfected, because the other things you can maybe slide on. But that, to me, what I've seen, I don't think I can stress that enough in terms of, getting something out there and then having to do a great deal to fix it up in real time and kind of holding up the success of your product.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to add to that?
I think that was really well put, and I think I'm really looking forward to more and more feedback and the opportunity to help.
Wonderful. So, how can we find Tails app, and how can we sign up, and where is it available, Arpit?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I should have mentioned that earlier. It's super simple. You go to the website tails.so, and on the website there are two buttons. One is for you to log in. You can create a profile there, upload up to 5 videos, and then click a button says apply for being verified, and we get back to you within 12 hours. The same process is on the mobile app. It's super simple. You just download it from the App Store. And upload 5 videos and enter some information about yourself. You can name your email address so that we can reach you, and a little bit of information about your skills that you're good at. You can select multiple skills if you have, and then just say apply for being verified as a performing artist, and we get back to you within 12 hours. So it's as simple as that, and I think you should have a lot of fun while doing so, and we're looking forward to your application.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. That's so great. And listeners, make sure, reach out, sign up, look out for Tails app. And thank you so much for coming onto the show, Arpit, for the launch of the Tails app. And I'm looking forward to its release. And it's so great, again, that you're putting something useful and valuable out into the world of the performing arts in its many facets and genres. And we as a community, we thank you so much. So thanks again.
Thanks a lot, Shenea. Thanks for having me on the show. We're very excited to have this air, and excited for the next couple of months of how it gets adopted by all the circus artists who are listening right now.
In the spirit of those like Arpit Agarwal, seeking to make the entertainment world a better place, I wanted to end the episode with the current protests that have been powerfully making their way through 2020 and now through 2021, that have been led by farmers in Arpit Agarwal's country of origin, India, as they strive to make their own industry a better place. In November 2020, thousands of farmers marched from the northern states of India to Delhi to protest farming reforms passed by Prime Minister Modi's government. Those protests have continued throughout the month of December and show little sign of letting up. The farmers have set up camp in and around the capital city to pressure the government to repeal the laws, but the government won't budge. The government says these new laws will modernize farming by liberalizing the industry, but India's farmers say it will be their downfall. Under these new policies, farmers will have fewer government protections and will likely lose the government-regulated markets and prices they have relied on for decades. To make matters even more difficult, all this is happening as India's farmers grapple with a shrinking share of the economy that has contributed to a suicide crisis around the country. The Indian farmer protest is shaking the world. The Live Like an Acrobat podcast is also available on Circus Talk, the inclusive, independent, and international online network for the circus industry. Circus Talk's mission is to create a level playing field for this industry and democratize access to information. Please consider subscribing to the Live Like an Acrobat podcast and to the circuspreneurblog.com, where you will find extended conversations and interactive content of each episode of the Live Like an Acrobat podcast. I'm your host, Shenea Stiletto, and until next time, please stay safe and stay healthy.